interface looks like. And then we'll do a rundown of the various UI elements that you'll see. After this, we can go into what knowledge we've given the AI model, what it can do with that knowledge, and what data we hold on to from what it gets. Of course, I will also have a live demo so you can actually see it in action, and an example of it doing some basic code generation. Following this, I'll go over the finer details of how we actually created the assistant and how it works. And I'm also going to take some time to talk about the AI boom, I guess, in the industry, but specifically with the PxPlus community, and more so on what your peers are doing. We'll also be talking about some prompt engineering to help you kind of get better results from when you use any AI tool, or in this case, our AI tool as well. And lastly, I will share with everyone how to actually access the assistant, and we can end off the session with a open discussion about the new AI assistant and other general AI topics. So obviously AI is a big topic right now in business, personal use, and everywhere really. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to start exploring some new opportunities to benefit from these new tools. Our first endeavor with this is into AI is with our PxPlus AI Assistant. So what is the PxPlus AI Assistant? It's a custom AI agent that we created using OpenAI's API to provide you and your team's PxPlus assistance whenever you may need it. The AI assistant has a large knowledge base of information and has a simple and easy to use interface for you to easily converse with the agent. So let's take a look at what using the AI assistant actually will look like with some screenshots. So looking at this first screenshot, we're greeted with the initial page when you load the AI assistant. Here at the bottom, we can see that we're about to ask it how to create a multi-line using nomads. In the second screenshot I have here, we can see that we've sent the question and that the AI responds by explaining how we would do so by breaking it down into a step-by-step, easy-to-understand way. Now moving to the third and final screenshot, it also provides a direct link to our online documentation page for the multi-line properties and for the overview of the multi-line control. And these links will open in a new browser tab to that specific web page. We also saw that there are various different buttons across these screenshots. Let's do a rundown of the different UI elements. We have a typical chat-like interface to converse with the AI assistant. And moving top to bottom, we have our PxPlus iconic logo, which also doubles as a link to the online manual. We have a button to quickly navigate to our knowledge center in a new browser tab, and this is depicted with a little light bulb icon. We also have a button to toggle between light and dark mode. In the middle, we have some buttons to quickly ask the AI assistant questions about the newest features that we've added to PxPlus, and specifically what this year are about. So we have .NET, the JSON object, and security improvements for this year. These will be updated every major release to let everyone know what features we've added. And at the bottom, over here, we have a typical chat box and a send button. The chat box takes a maximum of 2,000 characters, and you can either click send manually or press enter to send your question. For better formatting, you can also use the Shift-Enter key to add a new line to your message. There's also a button here to regenerate the assistant's previous response in case you didn't like what it said. Now, all AI responses also display with buttons to provide us feedback on the agent's responses, and a button to easily copy the response directly to your clipboard. The feedback buttons will change color to indicate that they've been clicked, and the copy buttons hover text will let you know when you actually clicked it as well. Your questions will also display with this copy button in case you want to copy it elsewhere or modify your question. And lastly, when you're not at the bottom of the page, a little button here will appear that lets you scroll quickly to the bottom. So before I answer what it can do, what does the AI assistant actually know? Well, we provided the entire PxPlus online documentation to the model. It can very easily and quickly search through the entire documentation to find what you need and get all the relevant information that it needs to explain it thoroughly. It also has the very same PxPlus developer training guide that is available on our Knowledge Center that we released earlier this year, which goes over all the fundamentals of PxPlus and its different tools. That's not the only thing, though, from the Knowledge Center. It also has all the PDFs that we make available there, which would include things like the presentations from last year's conference. We also gave it a bunch of instructions on the basics of programming in PxPlus to help with the more technical questions. But we also plan to give the AI assistant even more information to help with various tasks and problems that you may face, as well as make sure that its information is kept up to date. So, with this knowledge, what can it actually do? So the AI assistant is really good at searching the documentation and providing relevant information for what you are looking for. Not only that, but it can also provide direct links to the online manual of those relevant pages, as we saw earlier in the screenshots. Of course, it is AI, so the information it provides may not be correct, and you should always keep this in mind while using it. And for those of you that prefer, it can also respond in other human languages, meaning you are not limited to just English. I personally don't speak any other languages, so I can't exactly speak on its accuracy. But in our beta testing, we've had some people speaking languages like German and Spanish. The model has also been limited to only talk about topics related to PxPlus. We actually had some fun initially with this project when we got to tell it when we got it to tell us a bedtime story, which was quite funny. Now, in the event that you lose your connection, the interface will also attempt to reconnect you to the server to preserve your conversation. If no messages are sent, there is an inactivity timer that will automatically disconnect you. This will display a reconnect button at the bottom to regain your connection. Now, in both cases, if you reconnect within about 7 seconds, your conversation will be preserved, and you can just continue on where you left off. Now, a big one that many of you may be interested in is code generation. This AI assistant was made to be more of a general purpose assistant rather than something specific, which is to say that it wasn't really made for the purpose of code generation. However, with the model having access to tons of resources and code examples, combined with specific instructions on how PxPlus programming works, it is actually decent at code generation, though it is limited. Now, the problem is that, like most large language models, it is definitely not perfect and will likely require some tweaking to get that generated code to work. Now, this is clearly a service, so what is being tracked? Well, there are a couple things. We keep track of any messages sent to the AI, as well as the session ID of any conversations. Other than that, we also store a variable on your local storage that will retain your current theme. But we don't track any personal data, nor does OpenAI track any questions or responses from our AI assistant either. Since we have a business account with them, it is opted out of data tracking, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, especially since we can see what you send, or especially since we can actually see what you send to the AI, please under no circumstances give personal or confidential information of any kind to the AI. Even if we don't tie this to personal data, it's still up to you to not share such information. So, beforehand, as a quick reminder, again, don't give any sensitive information to the AI model. We at PBX can also see what comes through. So let's see a live demo of this actually in action. Here we go. I'm gonna do this. Okay. So here we have the PxPlus AI Assistant interface. Right now we're actually disconnected because it's been inactive for a little bit. We're just going to quickly reconnect to get a new session. So I have some pre-planned questions just to make it easy for us. So one question that would be good for more like a general help would be something like, how do I install PxPlus? A very simple question that some people may not know right off the bat how to do. We can ask this question on how to install it. Give it a second, and it will spit out a response for us. So it gives us a kind of step-by-step. It tells us what we need to do, things that we will need. Tells us about the wizard that will happen and the activation key that you'll need. It also has a little note to make sure that you register with your project within 30 days of activation. We also have a link here to the installation instructions. I'll see if I can open that here. So what that will do is when I click that, it will open up the exact page within our documentation. It also has one here for if you're installing Unix or on a Unix or a Linux system. It also has its own set of instructions, which provide a web link to this as well. It also has a little follow-up question, and we can, if we want to, we can copy it, say it's good or bad, and they all have their own little color indicators. So the bigger one, though, is let's say we want to know about some of its documentation search capabilities. As a good example, how would we change the character symbols of a multi-line? So if you're using a password you don't want it to normally show, you want it to show just like a certain character, like an asterisk. We don't know how to do that, but maybe the AI will know. So what we do is we ask the question, give it a second to think. And what we have here is it's explaining the PW parameter, system parameter that lets you change this character. So in this case here, its example is if you set the PW parameter to 42, it is the asterisk character, which is what you typically see in like a password. The default, it also explains that the default right now is the $, which has an ASCII value of 36. We can also open the online doc page and brings up this. And one more question I have that we can do. I'm also going to switch it to dark mode real quick so you can see that what that will look like. Now, let's say we had a more of a design question. Let's say, should I use PxPlus or iNomads for whatever project you're working on? We can ask this. It will think for a second. And it will kind of give the differences between the two. So here it explains what PxPlus is and what iNomads is. It also has like a little summary here at the bottom to explain what you're looking for is one or the other. It also gives some web links to each individual or every single one of those kind of things. So we have the web tools, which will actually open a PDF from a previous directions, I think. We have one on Webster. Oh, that's there's a file maintenance generator and the iNomads one as well. So this is what the AI assistant will actually look like in action. Now another one I have though, if we move this off the side, we'll bring back the presentation real quick. Is a code generation example. So I have an example of it generating a very simple inventory management program that I'd like to look at. Now, as is often with the nature of AI generated code, I had to try a few times before I actually got something close to what I was looking for. The prompt I used for this was to create a full working inventory program for a warehouse. Each item is a string containing a name, price, and shelf unit number. Also, create a graphical menu to input this data. So I have is ED Plus here with a program that it generated on its own. So this is the program that it generated. Everything here is entirely made by the AI agent. I have not touched this whatsoever. It is exactly as is. It gives an explanation of what the code does. It says that the program uses arrays, as you can see up here, to store multiple items, names, prices, and their respective shelf numbers. It also has a loop that offers a menu with options to add or display items. And the program uses basic input to gather necessary data and displays it using a message box function for confirmation. It also created some notes about its program, that the program has a very simple structure. But it can be improved with more features such as data validation, storage persistence, and advanced search capabilities. It also says to ensure that the environment supports graphical input through the PxPlus Nomads framework. Now, as you can probably see, there are a few things wrong. For one, we have some syntax errors, namely these ones here. Two, the price up here is a numeric instead of a string, like we had originally asked. However, this arguably works better in this case, so we'll leave it as is. And three, it isn't a graphical nomads interface. It's just a loop that has some text and will over here, and we'll display it in a message or display it on the console. Now, most likely the model interpreted graphical simply to be something that is visible, but we can work with this. So what I did is I took this same program and kind of fixed it up to what we need. So I made some adjustments to fix the syntax errors down here. Namely, we added a space between the words else if, because before it didn't have a space between them. And adding some forward slashes above the else ifs to make sure it actually will work. I also had to change the for loop to use next I instead of just ending. And I also changed exit down wherever it is. I changed the exit directive to just be end, specifically just for this demo. Now, to make it simple, I also left the interface as text-based that it gave us. But with that, its generated program is now functional. We can look at that when we do a run on the PxPlus program. So with those couple of fixes, this is all almost entirely AI generated, just mostly syntax issues. That was about it. So let's say we want to add an item first. So let's add an item. What we need is an item name. So we'll just give it Apple. Enter a price. So in this case, it is a numeric. So we'll add something like 232. And a shelf number, let's give it a 3A. It'll give us a little message box to say that's added successfully. Now let's add one more. Let's say orange. We'll give it a 3.12. Shelf number of 4B. It'll add that successfully. Now we'll hit 2 to display these items. And as you see, as item 1, item 2, and displays all the information about them. And lastly, we can hit 3 and it will just simply exit the program. Now, as a reminder, this was almost entirely AI generated, which is pretty cool. We still had to fix up a couple things, but for the most part, it was a fully generated program. Moving on. So how does the AI assistant actually work? Perhaps you want to start using AI yourself, or you just wonder how we did it. So to begin this whole project, we wanted something that was using a well-known and reputable AI platform, and something that won't cost an arm and a leg to use. What we did was we went with OpenAI as they fit the bill. But they also provided a API to interact with custom AI agents that come with built-in tools like file searching and code interpretation. Now, as for any AI tools, make sure that you know the terms and conditions, and also make sure that your data isn't being taken for training. Oftentimes, certain paid accounts, like OpenAI's Pro accounts or business accounts, won't take your data for training, or they just let you opt out of it. Now, regardless of this, I still can't stress this enough, you should never upload confidential or personal information to any AI tool. But moving on, we decided to use the GPT-4o mini model for our assistant, as it performs well across the board and is actually better at programming than other similar models. It's both fast and also has significantly less cost to run. Now for storage, OpenAI uses a database of files called a vector store that can be linked to an AI agent to utilize. And this would include things like HTML files and PDFs. This is where we actually upload everything and can essentially be considered the agent's knowledge. Now, one big downside to using OpenAI, however, is that it doesn't actually come with web scraping capabilities. We also wanted to provide direct links to our documentation, so this is kind of a problem. It can be linked to a web scraper, but you would need to either make one yourself or find one. So what we did was actually a bit different. We renamed all of our manual files that we uploaded to include the whole path to the file, and we upload those instead. With that, we could instead reconstruct a working URL to the manual with a bit of processing. Now, in our case, we also have a lot of documentation that we would need to upload. Unfortunately, OpenAI did have some issues with uploading a lot of files at once using their online dashboard. So we automated the process instead using their API. So they use Node.js for their API, if any of you are familiar with that. Now, I'm also not sure if it's been fixed yet, but there actually was a bug in their code with one of the function parameters that I had to actually fix myself, but hopefully it's been resolved by this point. So for creating a link to the documentation using these files, the agent will create a partial HTML link from the file. What we then do is process it on the server side to correctly point it to the manual instead. This was a rather difficult challenge, as the AI agent often likes to change the name of files or capitalization of letters, both of which would break the link. Now, there were also many other scenarios that the AI agent had creating these links incorrectly, so we have to do a fair bit of that server-side processing to ensure that these links actually work. But it can still occasionally get it wrong. There are, of course, some other ways that this could have been done, but they also had their drawbacks, so we went with this for now. Of course, we also provided the AI a set of instructions, also known as a prompt, to help it navigate its information and its responses. So that's how the AI side of this works. But the server and the client were also built using Node.js to facilitate the communication between these three layers. And lastly, we also have a database connected to the server for storing these questions, responses, and some other metrics. You actually see on the right here, I have a simple diagram of this whole project. We have the client and the database that both connect to the server. Server connects to the AI agent, and the AI agent has a prompt and inspector store. Now, you might be wondering how much this assistant actually costs to run, especially if you want to implement something like this yourself. Now, your results may vary, but with the 4.0 mini model that we used, after about 3,000 questions or so to the agent, we've actually only spent about $10, which is not the arm and the leg that we were hoping to avoid, which is fantastic. Now, some of you also may be wondering, is there more AI use in the PxPlus community? So what I'm about to talk about, is actually from a post on our forum, started by Kevin Creamers from Masticom. Now, this was actually quite funny to see, since we had just finished developing the majority of our AI assistant when this post was made. But what if you wanted to set up your very own PxPlus AI assistant with the purpose of code generation? Now, I'm going to paraphrase a lot, but he talks about how Asticom has been working extensively with AI, including the generation of web applications and business logic, and recently they applied it to PxPlus development, and they found huge success with it. They're not simply generating code snippets, but complete PxPlus programs. It does its own syntax checking, fixes code automatically, creates test routines, and even compiles and validates everything. So he said that they had it generate a complex bin packing algorithm that would normally take them several weeks to design and code. And with their AI code generation, they had it working within a single day. As of posting this, they haven't actually applied it to nomads or PxPlus level IO, but for logic and algorithms, their time savings have been incredible, to say the least. So how did they do it? They went with Anthropic's Claude AI, which is well known for its programming capabilities. And they also integrated it with PxPlus using Visual Studio Code through the Claude Code extension. They converted the PxPlus Manual into Markdown files and added them to its workspace, which is actually very similar to how we uploaded our manual to OpenAI for our assistant. They also included a reference program in their workspace, and Claude will automatically try to match that formatting, which helped them follow their internal code conventions. They also include some instruction files or developer notes to clarify how PxPlus actually behaves. And then they also ask Claude to read through these instructions before generating any code, which they found helped significantly in its reliability. They also include instructions on syntax checking and compiling using the PxPlus exe, which actually helps catch issues early on for them. Now, Kevin has more information on his experience using AI with programming and also a lot of other great tips on the forum posts, but even more surprisingly, they've made their full Claude and PxPlus setup publicly available on their GitHub page, which is incredibly generous to say the least, so huge shout out to them. Now, in talking with Kevin, he also says that they are open to helping other developers experiment and adopt AI into their own PxPlus workflows. So if this is something that would interest you, you may want to reach out to him. Now, I'm also going to take some time here to talk about prompt engineering. AI can be a fantastic tool, but unless you know how to word your questions or requests, you likely won't see its true potential. Prompt engineering is the skill of crafting a well-worded question or request, and is the key to getting more out of AI models of any kind. So let's go over some tips to get some better responses with any AI model, including our PxPlus AI Assistant. To get the most out of them, your questions should be worded in a way that is clear, specific, and structured. Now, I'm going to use an analogy here, but when you want to do something like cooking and you're looking for a recipe online, you probably want something that is quite clear and to the point so you can just make what you want to make. And instead, you will often find a jumbled mess of instructions and it ends up taking much longer than it needs to. An AI model is actually similar to you in that regard, and it will perform the best when it has all of its instructions clearly laid out in a easy to understand manner. You should also provide context and any constraints. When you ask a question to an AI, it may generalize heavily if it doesn't have enough context. If you can answer the why or the purpose of what you're asking, the AI model will often produce much better results. Similarly, if you don't provide any constraints, it could find an answer that does work, but may not be right for your situation. Constraints are kind of like the same thing as a filter. It helps narrow down exactly what you are looking for. And a great example of these both together would be something like if you're wondering what laptop should I get, if you add something like says it's for business use, which would be a good context, and it should have a long battery life, which would be a constraint. Now, these two, the wording and the context and whatnot, are probably the most important, and you will likely see big improvements to the AI responses of any kind by utilizing them in your questions. But a few more that will also help are to assign the AI agent a role. Assigning a role helps it respond in a specific way. So, for example, you could ask it to act as a marketer to convince a customer to invest in your new business analyst software, for example. Another great one is provide examples. Providing examples gives it a very clear reference point to work from and is very helpful for describing specific scenarios. Now, all in all, the key takeaway is that a better prompt will produce a better outcome. So let's also take some quick look at some examples of using prompts. Let's say we have a database that we want to integrate with PxPlus. You might be tempted to just ask about database integration, but we would likely to get a more generalized answer for various different databases and methods to integrate them. We can improve our question significantly by asking about our specific case. Let's say by using a MySQL database and ODBC. This will produce a much better and more tailored response for your specific problem. As another example, if you can't seem to open a file, telling the assistant, I can't open my file would be quite vague. It doesn't know what other context there is. So it will probably do its best, but may not find you a solution that works. We can significantly improve the AI response in this case by providing the error that we got trying to open our file, which happened to be an error 52. To have the response worded in the way that we are looking for, we also ask it to explain what that error is and how we would fix it. The AI system will tell you, most likely, that it is a password-protected file and would explain that you need to use the password directive with the correct password to access the file. Now, hopefully these quick tips and examples give you a better idea of how to work with AI. If the AI agent gets something wrong, you can simply correct it or try again. Venting to the AI with rather colorful language won't really help produce the results you were looking for. Okay, so now you've seen everything about what the AI knows, what it can do, how it works, and you've seen it in action. But how do you access this AI assistant yourself, and what will this cost you? Well, it's completely free, and anyone here can use it right now. There'll be a few ways to access the PxPlus AI Assistant. With the release of PxPlus 2025 Update 1, you can gain access through the navigation bar on our online manual. You can also open it through a new option in the IDE as its own window, or by typing AI into the PxPlus command line. The other way is to simply go to ai.pbxplus.com. Now, keep in mind that OpenAI our provider for this, is prone to network issues and slowdowns, and it may affect your experience using our AI. Oftentimes, this can actually be fixed just by refreshing the page. If you happen to want to clear your conversation, or even if the AI becomes a bit too stubborn for you, you can refresh the page and it'll reset the conversation. And lastly, remember that in the nature of AI, asking the same question may also produce different results. Now, I'd like to take some time here so we can all kind of discuss the new PxPlus AI Assistant, other AI technologies, or maybe some of what you are working or looking into. If anyone here today is working with AI, especially with PxPlus, that you want to talk about or even brag about, now is the perfect time. I do have a couple of questions for you, though. Here, let me just bring up my Teams. Actually, I guess, Kunal, you can tell me those. I'll just bring this back. So I have a couple of questions for you, just to kind of start this off. Raise your hand in Teams if you are using AI tools in any way, any capacity. You can use the little raised hand icon at the very top of your screen. Okay, yeah, I see quite a few of you. Fantastic. All right, so keep your hand up if you have also implemented something with AI in your business. It could be a third-party tool, an API like ours, or even your own in-house AI models.
Okay, John, you can ask a question.
Hold on, we're just raising hands for this. It's okay. Hold on. So you got at least 10. Okay, also a good number of you. Now, lastly, keep your hand up if you would like to, and you can, share or even brag about what you've been doing with AI. It could be a really small project or something really big. Okay, so good number of you. All right. Let's go with John here. John Spencer. Yeah.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great presentation. Thank you very much. I'll try to be really brief, but this was really so cool. It blew me away. My wife works as a social worker, and she had a 50-page document that she had to summarize, but it had all this personal information in it. So
Yep.
she said, can you help with this? I went and redacted the document. I said, name one, name two, place one, place two, had a cross-reference, submitted the anonymous information to an AI. It came back in about 30 seconds and did a fantastic job on the summary. I then took that text file and reversed it and used the cross-reference and plugged in the real locations and real names again. And it just absolutely blew me away. So that's my little story. Thank you.
It's really cool. Thanks. Next is James Crowther.
What's in the documentation?
There you go.
Hey, when it comes to AI, can you hear me?
I can. I hear some other talking to you at the same time, though.
Yeah, I'm in an office.
Okay.
When we use AI, like we're using it to try to help us do development. Right now, because none of the models are trained very well, for DireXions, obviously, it's the greatest result. But it is really good if you give it access to your code base about like understanding what's going on, even if it can't generate code. So you can be like, hey, where do we generate invoices? It immediately go pick out the code.
Yeah.
So like for people that like want to use it, it can often be informative, even if it can't produce the code that you need to actually go do something. But that's why I asked about your documentation. I think if we could get a copy of the documentation you're feeding into your AI, we could probably significantly improve the ability of, because we use Claude for.
Oh, well, I have some fantastic news for you. I mentioned Astacom's work with AI and using Claude as well. On the PowerPoint that will be posted later, or if you want to go ahead and search in our forum, there is actually a public post he made that has his whole project, and that entire project also includes all of our PxPlus documentation as Markdown files, which already integrates well with Claude.
I'm already using his.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I already implemented his. So we use Claude code at command line on the side.
Okay.
And I import his repository. Does it have everything that you're feeding, even like the new like training documentation?
Yeah, it has all the training documentation that we have. We haven't uploaded all the new stuff for the upcoming release quite yet, but when that happens, we will be. But everything up to our last major release has been added to it.
Great. Then I think we're most of the way there. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for sharing. It was great to hear. Next is Kevin Harsh. You're you're still muted, I think.
Yes. Kevin, just unmute yourself.
Should be the hand icon at the top. You just have to click that again. No? Okay, well we can move on with the next hand. So Debbie Woodhouse, which you may or may not notice is the same last name that I have, which is a little funny bit of info.
There you go. So what we actually do at Jonas is we have projects that we use AI information for. So we look for ways to improve processes. So something that we can do fast that has the biggest impact. So that's what we use AI for as well, is doing little projects along the way. We take ideas, take one thing and say, okay, let's see if we can plug it into AI and see if we can get something that will make it faster, quicker, save us time so that we can do other things.
Okay. Well, thank
That's
you.
what we do.
It's also really good to hear. Yeah, one thing I have noticed in the AI space is usually having like an AI agent for a specific smaller task, and you can actually link multiple AI agents together as well that each do their own little individual task, and you can link them together to get a much better output. And from what I've heard, actually OpenAI might be releasing something that lets you do that soon as well. Do we have any other people that would like to and can share? Oh, look at that. Kevin Creamers. Yeah.
Yeah, look who's here. We've been also working on a chatbot platform that lets you build custom agents based on different AI models like OpenAI, Cloud, and Gemini. And the idea is to give the user the full control over the agent's behavior by allowing them to define system prompts and connect their own knowledge bases. And each agent can be tailored to a specific use case, like support or internal documentation, sales, and simply by adjusting its prompt and feeding it the right context. And what makes it even a more powerful platform is that we also support custom functions, and that allows the chatbot to interact with external systems, for example, searching through a product database or calling a shipping API or fetching customer-specific information in real time.
Wow, that's also really cool.
Yeah, it is. And
yeah, the work that you guys have been doing is fantastic.
Yeah, I made a new post today. I said it in the chat here about an MCP for cloud, and we added it today. So yeah, check the forum post because we'll be updating it soon.
That's cool. That's great. Well, thank you very much for sharing. All right, I have a couple more things. I still have it up. So, real quick, what do you actually think of the AI assistant? I want to know what kind of everyone's kind of thoughts are. Do you like it? Is there anything that you think is like, or any new ideas that you're getting out of it? You can feel free to add it to the chat or even just speak out loud if you'd like. If you want to speak out loud, though, just make sure you raise your hand. Fine. Oh, I'm not seeing anything at the moment. All right. Well, in that case, I'll just move on to the next one. One question I have is, would you also like to see any kind of a, we already have like a general purpose AI assistant, but maybe we want one that isn't tied to a specific project or like code generation. Would that be something that would be interesting? Because we're also looking to do code generation with AI or PxPlus language. But we also don't want it, unlike some more specific projects, you can have your own code base and have it more specified or tailored to yours. We can also look at creating a more generalized one. And we want to know if that would be something that would be of interest to anyone here. Again, either just in the chat or you can raise your hand. Just to say, like, if you want to say yes, just raise your hand, or just say it in the chat. Okay. Cool. At least a couple of you. Now another one is there any kind of other AI tools that in particular that you want to see in the future? Obviously, we were talking a lot about code generation, but is there anything else maybe that you'd be interested in? It could be any kind of tool. We're not sure, so we want to get some ideas on what you think would be a cool thing to do. John, do you have something cool that you want to speak about? No? Okay. James?
Yeah, when it comes to like AI tools, like the ability to plug into the ProvideX data would be really helpful. So we have an AI tool that like our salespeople can use, and like they ask questions like, "Hey, what are my top 5 customers in last month? Which of my customers has lost the most amount of business over the last 3 months?" Like those kind of questions, which is great.
Yeah.
But we had to go through a lot of hoops to get AI access to ProvideX data. In fact, we can't get it access to ProvideX data. We can export the data to some other database and then give it access to that. But there's no way to get an agent direct access to ProvideX data.
Okay.
Without
that's something we can definitely look into. That'd be good. Thank you. Kevin. Oh.
Yeah, can't you use a connection with SQL, MySQL or something to connect to the database, and then let the AI connect through MySQL or something, or SQL with an ODBC driver or something?
Yeah, we
I
export
believe
the data to SQL, but like we'd prefer to just not have a duplicate database out there that we're feeding.
Yeah.
Like direct access.
Okay. Well, something we can look into as well. Now, something specific more for the beta testers, because obviously anyone that was, we had some people that were reading the newsletter and signed up for some early access testing for this AI assistant. For any of the beta testers out there, what are your thoughts and how did you find the responses? Also, for anyone that was doing beta testing, if you spoke another language, did you find that the responses in your own language were accurate? Those are things that we would very much like to know. If you want, you can either raise your hand or you can also just put it in the chat. I'm not sure if any, I figure some of you are probably here, but I'm not sure if any of you want to talk today. No. Okay. In that case, thank you everyone. Actually, let me bring up the PowerPoint again real quick. Well, thank you for joining me and giving me your time, and I hope to see everyone again tomorrow for my other presentation on the new JSON object. Hopefully you're all excited about the rest of today's presentations. We'll be looking at Webster Plus and some of the demos from other people in the PxPlus community. Thank you again.